Far Cry 5 finally launched yesterday on March 27th, 2018, and overall the game has been receiving positive reviews across the board. Its biggest criticism seems to be that it's overall a very familiar gameplay experience compared to past entries, but the general consensus is that it's a fun game that refines the existing formula and spruces it up with a new coat of American paint. But in the weeks leading up to the game's release, a lot of people have been wary about pre-ordering the game until they knew exactly what they're getting into as far as microtransactions are concerned. An understandable apprehension after all that's happened. It didn't help that there were a lot of mixed signals being sent in regards to Far Cry 5's microtransactions, with one article from GameSpot in particular saying how according to Ubisoft you can pay to speed up your progress, but everything you can buy is cosmetics only with no effect on gameplay. The contradictory statement raised a few eyebrows, as something can't be both cosmetics only and affect gameplay progress. But now, with the game finally out, we can break down exactly how in-game purchases work in Ubisoft's latest title. So, everything you buy is done through the game's premium currency, silver bars, which can be bought in packages that range from $5 all the way up to $50. You can then use that currency to purchase things like weapons, clothes, and vehicles, or more specifically, prestige versions of these items. Prestige items are essentially reskinned versions of something, so you can find or purchase the normal versions of items in-game, or you can buy the prestige versions with unique skins through the game's in-game shops or the store found in the game's menu. It's worth noting that statistically, prestige items are identical to their normal counterparts, it's just a different appearance. Now, the game does allow players to buy prestige items through either the silver bars premium currency or just through plain old in-game cash, so technically all prestige items can be earned by just playing the game. For me though, the excuse of you can earn everything in-game is not necessarily a valid one, because in Star Wars Battlefront 2, with the old pay-to-win system, you could technically earn everything without spending $1. It would just take you a ridiculous amount of time, and rewards were chance-based. I'm not trying to say that Far Cry 5 is remotely close to what Battlefront 2 tried to pull. I'm just acknowledging that just because items can be purchased with both premium and in-game currency doesn't necessarily make microtransactions any less insidious. Though it's fair to say that Far Cry 5's monetization scheme isn't anywhere near being the worst thing we have ever seen in games. In fact, it actually takes a step back from Assassin's Creed Origins by completely foregoing the time saver packs, so you can't pay real money for in-game currency, crafting parts, ability points, or map markers in Far Cry 5. Real-world purchases are solely confined to prestige weapons, clothes, vehicles, and various skins for the player model, with no elements of chance involved. One problem that I do have is that I'm seeing a lot of outlets insisting that Far Cry 5's monetization system is purely confined to cosmetic items, a notion that Ubisoft is pushing for, but that's simply factually not true. Keep in mind that when you buy prestige versions of things like weapons and vehicles, you're not just getting skins, you're also getting the weapon or vehicle as well. It's less buying skins and more buying skin versions of things. So if you can't afford a weapon or vehicle and want to skip the grind of obtaining the desired item, the game does allow you to pay real money to obtain its prestige version immediately. Fortunately, the game is sensible enough to make it so that prestige items unlock with their non-prestige counterparts, so you can't just buy your way to obtaining the most powerful weapon in the game from the get-go. You have to play the game, progress, and wait until you get to a point in which the more powerful stuff unlocks before you can decide whether you want to grind and save up some cash for them, or just pay up with silver bars. In other words, at no point does the game's microtransactions allow players to become too powerful as to completely skew game progress. But there is still the nagging incentive of allowing players to skip some of the grind involved in obtaining enough cash to purchase certain weapons or vehicles, especially since buying this stuff with in-game currency is rather costly. The general consensus seems to be that while the game does reward players with enough in-game currency for us to be able to earn a decent selection of guns, outfits, and vehicles, enough to get you through the game without feeling like your progress is being hindered in any major way, those who really want to delve into the game's full arsenal and have fun with that will have to grind significantly or pay up to mitigate the grind. So all in all, microtransactions in Far Cry 5 aren't a storm that will ruin your day, but they are still a looming cloud that is ever present. You look up and it's kind of always there, ignorable but stalking you. The game also tries to give you a taste of silver bar purchases by scattering them across the game world in small amounts. I believe there are a total of 8 saves total, and each of them contain 40 silver bars each. So once you collect them all, you'll have earned 320 silver bars, which is a paltry sum that's enough to maybe purchase one of the game's lesser prestige items. So that's not Ubisoft being generous and more of them trying to nudge players towards real-world purchase options. It's them giving us a free sample of something so we might be incentivized to consume more of it. Again, you can opt to grind away in-game, but if you really want to expand your arsenal, you might be grinding for a while unless you pay up. Overall, I do think that Far Cry 5's microtransaction system is an improvement over Assassin's Creed Origins and its time saver packs and proxy loot boxes. There is none of that found in this game, and it makes microtransactions much more ignorable. But in-game purchases are still kind of shoehorned in there. They don't add anything to the experience. There is still a lingering incentive to mitigate some grind to purchase gameplay affecting items like weapons and vehicles, and it's still not an ideal situation. They're not the worst thing ever, so I think a lot of people may be able to tolerate it, but it's certainly not something worth complimenting or congratulating either. Especially when Ubisoft try to sell us on the lie that this stuff is cosmetics only, when it's really not. Ignorable, sure, but not cosmetics only. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the matter. I'd love to hear what your take is on all of this in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.